What if the person you trusted most turned out to be stealing from you and your 7-year-old daughter while you were collapsing from exhaustion trying to keep a roof over their heads? That's where my story starts. At 2 a.m. in a hospital bed, watching my sister post a selfie with the caption, "Finally, a day without the drama queen," while I was lying there with an IV in my arm. But that post was just the beginning. Because by the time I discovered what was really happening, I found out my father had stolen my identity, opened credit cards in my daughter's name, and filed papers to have me declared legally incompetent so he could sell the house my grandmother left me. What I did next started with one phone call, and by the end of the month, they were the ones without a home. Before I go further, please like and subscribe if you connect with this story. Drop your location in the comments. I love knowing where you're listening from. My name is Donna. I'm 33, a night shift nurse, and a single mom to my 7-year-old daughter, Lily. And this is what happened when I finally stopped being the person everyone could take from. Let me take you back to a Tuesday evening in October, the night my body gave out. I was 14 hours into a shift that was supposed to be 10. My coworker had called out, so I stayed. I always stayed. By hour 11, my hands were shaking. By hour 13, the fluorescent lights had halos around them. By hour 14, I was walking down the corridor with intake forms when my knees buckled and I hit the floor. I don't remember the impact, but I remember the sound, forms scattering, someone yelling my name, ceiling tiles counting past. The oxygen mask came next. The ER attending wrote it down as severe dehydration and chronic fatigue collapse. They wanted to keep me overnight. Lying in that bed, I reached for my phone and saw it. A Facebook notification from my sister, Danielle. A selfie on my couch in my house, holding a glass of red wine, full smile. The caption read, "Finally, a day without the drama queen." 47 likes. And the third laughing emoji was from my mother. A laughing emoji while her oldest daughter was lying in a hospital bed alone. This wasn't new. Every time I got sick, every time I asked for help, the word was always the same, dramatic. The first time I'd collapsed 2 years earlier, my father didn't even come upstairs. He said it from the kitchen doorway. "Nurses don't collapse. You just want attention." They discharged me the next morning at 7:15. I drove myself home and pulled into the driveway of 412 Maple Lane, the house my grandmother Helen left me when she passed 12 years ago. The deed read one name, Donna Marie Paxton, sole owner, fee simple absolute. I walked through the front door. My father Gerald sat in the recliner. "You look fine, don't make a thing out of it." My mother Patricia was at the stove. She didn't turn around. My sister was on the sofa. Nobody asked if I was okay. I stood in the hallway of my own house and waited. Nobody said anything. I went upstairs. Lily was already dressed for school. She threw her arms around me. "Mama, Grandpa said you were just tired." I held her for a long time. I felt like a guest in my own home. 1 week later, I was back at work. The hospital's billing department suggested I check my credit report. I'd never checked it before. I didn't have debt. I owned my house outright. But that evening, sitting in my car in the hospital parking lot, I pulled all 3 bureaus. The number hit me first. Credit score 520. Then I saw them. 3 credit card accounts I'd never opened. One with $22,000, one with $14,500, one with $10,500, total $47,000. All opened within the last 3 years. Delinquent. Sent to collections. My hands were shaking. I called First Union Bank. A man named Russell Briggs answered. After I verified my identity, he said, "Ma'am, the applications were submitted using your social security number. The billing address on all 3 is your home address." Russell emailed me the scanned applications that night. I opened them in a McDonald's parking lot because I didn't want to be in the house. The signature on the first application was my father's handwriting. The capital P in Paxton had that small curl at the top, a habit he'd had for 30 years. Gerald Raymond Paxton. He hadn't even tried to hide it. I sat in that parking lot for 10 minutes. $47,000. Almost 2 years of my take-home pay. Money I never borrowed. Money I never spent. Money that was destroying my credit while I worked doubles to keep the lights on. I called my college roommate, Maggie Colton. She'd become a lawyer. Maggie, I think my father stole my identity. She was quiet for 2 seconds. Don't confront him. Don't mention it. Come to my office tomorrow. Bring everything. And Donna, check your daughter's credit too. I froze. That night, I waited until Lily was asleep. Then I checked her credit. One bureau had a result within the hour. A credit card opened 6 months ago in Lily's name. Balance, $1,200. I closed the laptop. I set it down and stared down the hall at Lily's door. She was 7, and someone had used her social security number to open a credit line. I went to my closet where I kept important documents. The file box was there. When I opened it, I noticed gaps. My original birth certificate was gone. My old social security card was gone. Someone had been through it recently. You can take from me. You can call me dramatic. You can laugh at me while I'm in an emergency room, but you do not touch my child. That is the line. Maggie's office was above a dry cleaner on Main Street. She read through my credit reports in silence, making notes with a red pen. This is textbook familial identity theft, federal crime. I handed her a photo of a courthouse envelope I'd taken from Gerald's kitchen table. She studied it, then turned to her computer. She typed in my name, scrolled, and stopped. Her jaw tightened. Your father filed a petition for guardianship over you 2 weeks ago. I read the screen. Petition for guardianship of Donna Marie Paxton, filed by Gerald R. Paxton. The stated reason: respondent has documented history of medical episodes consistent with diminished mental capacity. Under supporting witnesses, Danielle Paxton. If this goes through, Maggie said quietly, your father becomes your legal guardian. He controls your finances. He can sell the house. My house, the house my grandmother left to me. The house where Gerald had lived rent-free for 12 years while stealing my identity and gambling away $47,000 under my name. My own sister had signed a sworn statement saying I was mentally unfit. That evening, standing in the kitchen, I needed to see Gerald's face when I asked, Dad, have you ever used my social security number? He didn't turn around. What kind of question is that? A straightforward one. No, why would I? I checked my credit today, 520. He picked up his mug, turned around slowly. His face was flat, practiced. Credit reports have errors, don't get worked up. 3 cards, $47,000. I don't know what you're talking about. My mother appeared in the doorway. Gerald said, she's starting again. I was 4 steps up the stairs when I heard his voice, low, almost a hiss. She's digging. We need to move faster. The next morning, Danielle called. I heard you were upset. Maybe you should talk to someone. You mean a therapist to prove I'm unstable? Danny, did you sign a document at the courthouse 2 weeks ago? Long pause. That was just in case. Dad said it was to protect you. Protect me from what? From yourself, Donna. You collapsed at work twice in 3 years. I closed Lily's lunchbox. I collapsed because I work 70 hours a week to keep a roof over all 4 of you in my house. It's the family's house. Read the deed, Danny. She hung up. 2 days later, I was back in Maggie's office. She had the deed spread out beside a property title search. Donna Marie Paxton, sole owner, fee simple absolute, no co-owners, no liens. You can sell it today. Can they claim anything if they've lived there 12 years? Did they ever pay rent? No. Is there a lease? No, they're my parents. Then legally, they're licensees. You can revoke that license with 30 days written notice. Ohio law doesn't require more. I sat with that. 12 years, and legally, they had less right than a month-to-month renter. Maggie gave me the name of a realtor in Grover City. Lynn Draper walked through the house while my family was out. She took photos and measured rooms. I'd listed $185,000. Good bones. I signed the listing agreement in her car. Don't put it on the MLS yet. I'll tell you when. The next morning, I filed identity theft reports for both me and Lily. The FTC assigned case numbers within minutes. I drove to the Ridgemont Police Department. Officer Dale Harris was at the front desk. I laid out the credit reports, the scanned applications with Gerald's handwriting, and the FTC confirmations. I need to file a report for identity theft. My father lives in my house. Harris looked at the paperwork and nodded. Have a seat. This will take about an hour. It took an hour and 20 minutes. He documented everything, gave me a case number and his direct line. That afternoon, Maggie filed a motion to dismiss the guardianship petition. She attached a letter from my physician confirming my hospitalizations were caused by exhaustion and dehydration, not mental illness. She also attached the identity theft report showing Gerald's financial motive. The judge will see this before the hearing, Maggie said. It's strong. That night, I listened to Gerald's voicemail one more time. If you push this, you won't have a family left. And I told Pastor Avery we're having a family meeting Sunday to sort this out together. He wanted a public meeting. He wanted the church behind him. He wanted witnesses to see his unstable daughter fall apart. Fine. I'd give him his meeting. Sunday came cold and bright. Ridgemont Community Church sat at the end of Oakwood Drive. I'd been baptized there. Lily had been baptized there. My grandmother's funeral had been held in the front pew 12 years ago. After the morning service, Gerald announced that the family was hosting a gathering. Most of the congregation stayed. 25 people arranged their folding chairs in a loose circle on linoleum floor. Metal legs scraped tile. The fluorescent lights hummed the same pitch as the ER ones. Pastor Tom Avery sat at the head of the circle, Bible on his knee. Gerald sat across from him, pressed shirt, serious expression. Patricia was beside him, eyes red, tissue ready. Danielle sat to their left, arms crossed, jaw tight. I walked in with Lily carrying a coloring book. I found 2 chairs near the door and sat down. 25 faces turned toward me. Gerald cleared his throat and stood. Thank you for being here. As some of you know, Donna has been going through a difficult time. She's been in the hospital twice. We're worried. We want to make sure she gets help. Patricia dabbed her eyes. A murmur of sympathy rippled through the chairs. Ted Buckley, mid-50s, leaned forward with his elbows on his knees. Gerald continued, voice steady and measured. Donna has been making some irrational decisions lately, accusing family members of crimes, threatening to sell the family home. The murmur grew louder. I felt the weight of it shifting toward him. Pastor Avery shifted in his chair. He looked at Gerald, then at me. Something in his expression was unsettled. Gerald, has Donna agreed to this meeting? She's here, isn't she? Gerald said. Avery turned to me. Donna, would you like to say anything? I looked up. Yes, I would. Before I could stand, Danielle cut in. See? She's doing it again, making everything about her. Patricia let out a sob. I can't watch my daughter destroy herself. Gerald turned his back to me and faced the circle, voice dropping low. This is exactly what we're talking about. She can't handle conversations without getting confrontational. We're trying to help. Murmurs of agreement. Karen Dietrich reached across and squeezed Patricia's hand. I watched the room tilt toward Gerald. 25 people recalibrating who I was in their minds. Every second I stayed quiet. His version became truth by default. I stood up. The quietest person in the room is usually the one holding the truth. I reached into my bag and set a manila folder on the table. The room went still. I'm glad everyone is here, I said, because there are things this community should know. I opened the folder and pulled out the deed. This house is mine, sole owner. My grandmother left it to me 12 years ago. I set it on the table flat. My name. Only my name. Gerald's mouth opened. Nothing came out. My father, mother, and sister have lived in my house rent-free for 12 years. I never asked for $1. I pulled the next page, the credit report highlighted in yellow. 3 credit cards were opened in my name without my consent. Total debt, $47,000. I set down the scanned applications. The signatures are my father's handwriting. A sound moved through the room. Not a gasp, but the collective inhale of 25 people recalibrating. I have a case number from the FTC and a police report on file. I reached into the folder one more time. 6 months ago, someone opened a credit card in my 7-year-old daughter's name. Under $200. Glenda Morrison's hand went to her mouth. Pastor Avery turned and looked at Gerald. The room had shifted. I could feel it. People who'd been leaning toward Gerald were sitting upright now. 2 weeks after my last hospitalization, my father filed a petition at the courthouse to have me declared legally incompetent, I said calmly. Public record. If it went through, he becomes my legal guardian. He controls my finances. He could sell my house to pay debts he took out in my name. I looked directly at Gerald, and my sister signed this petition as a witness, stating I was mentally unfit. Tell them, Danny. Tell them how much Dad promised you from the sale. Danielle's mouth worked, but no sound came out. She looked at Gerald. He didn't look back. She looked at the floor. To my right, a chair scraped against linoleum. Ted Buckley, the man who'd said I needed someone looking out for me 5 minutes ago, picked up his folding chair, moved it back 3 rows, and sat down without a word. The silence that followed was the loudest sound I'd ever heard in that room. Pastor Tom Avery rose from his chair. He was tall, lean, pushing his reading glasses up the bridge of his nose. Gerald, I agreed to be here because you told me Donna was in crisis. You told me she was a danger to herself. Gerald started. She is. I'm looking at a woman who brought documentation, Avery continued, who spoke calmly, who has not raised her voice once, and I'm looking at a father who stole his daughter's identity and his granddaughter's. He addressed the room. I think we all owe Donna an apology for being here under false pretenses. Glenda Morrison spoke next. Her voice was thick. Gerald Paxton, I've known you 30 years. Shame on you. Karen Dietrich pulled her chair back away from Patricia. She didn't say anything. She didn't need to. Patricia was crying now, not the rehearsed kind, the real kind. Gerald's voice cracked for the first time. You don't understand. I was going to pay it back. Your plan was to sell my house, I said. He had nothing left. He stood there, 61 years old, in his pressed Sunday shirt, and he had nothing. But I wasn't done. I pulled out 3 white envelopes and set them on the table, one in front of Gerald, one in front of Patricia, one in front of Danielle's empty chair. She'd gone rigid, but hadn't left. My attorney has prepared 30-day written notice for all 3 of you, I said. That's more than the law requires. Gerald stared at the envelope. Where are we supposed to go? I let that sit in the air. That's the first time in 12 years you've had to answer that question. I've been answering it for you my entire adult life. Patricia clutched Gerald's arm. Donna, you can't throw your parents out on the street. I'm giving you 30 days notice in writing. That's more courtesy than you gave me when you tried to have me declared incompetent. Danielle stood up, grabbed her purse, and her chair clattered. She walked toward the door and said just loud enough, "This is insane." The door closed behind her. Nobody followed. I looked at Gerald. He was still holding the envelope. His hands shook slightly. I closed my folder. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt like a woman who'd just finished the hardest thing she'd ever done. I turned to Pastor Avery. Thank you for your time, Pastor. He met my eyes. There was no pity, just respect. Donna, if you or Lily need anything, this church is here for you. I nodded. I looked down at Lily. She'd finished her coloring page. A purple house, yellow sun, green flowers. She held it up, oblivious to everything above her head. Ready, baby? Can I bring the crayons? You can bring the crayons. I took her hand and walked toward the door. Glenda Morrison was standing near the exit. She reached out and took my hand in both of hers. Your grandmother Helen would be proud of you, sweetheart. My throat tightened. Thank you, Mrs. Morrison. Outside, the October sun was low and gold. The gravel crunched under our shoes. Lily skipped ahead. Mama, why was Grandpa upset? Because things are going to be different now, baby, but different can be good. She considered this seriously. Then she climbed into the car and buckled herself. I started the engine and pulled out. I didn't feel victorious. I felt tired, but differently. The kind of tired that comes after you finally set down something you've been carrying too long. My phone buzzed, a text from Ted Buckley. I owe you an apology. If you need a reference for anything, you call me. What happened after that Sunday moved fast. Maggie called Thursday. The judge had reviewed her motion to dismiss. He'd seen the identity theft report, the FTC case numbers, my doctor's letter confirming my full capacity, and Gerald's financial motive. The petition was dismissed without a hearing. The judge added a note. Petitioner appears to have a significant conflict of interest. Officer Harris called that same week. The investigation was active. Gerald had been summoned for a formal interview. He hired an attorney who, after reviewing Maggie's evidence, withdrew within 48 hours. The fraudulent accounts under my name were frozen. I wouldn't be held liable for the $47,000. The account opened under Lily's name was closed. Her credit file was wiped clean. Gerald called on a Wednesday evening. His voice was stripped of authority and posture. Donna, please, I'm going to jail. I'm your father. I was washing Lily's dinner plate. I held the phone to my ear and watched the soap bubbles slide off. You should have thought about that before you stole from your granddaughter. I hung up. Gerald and Patricia moved out on day 24, 6 days early. They rented a trailer in Milford. I didn't see them leave. Danielle had left after 1 week. I walked through the empty house that evening. 12 years of living, nail holes in the walls, carpet dents from furniture. The kitchen smelled like Patricia's coffee. The recliner dent was still there. I didn't feel happy. I felt lighter. The house sold in 6 weeks. A young couple from Dayton, first-time buyers. They offered $178,000, and I accepted. After closing costs and Maggie's fees, I walked away with just under $150,000. I paid off my hospital bills in full. I put down a deposit on a 2-bedroom apartment in Grover City, close to a good school, 30 minutes from Ridgemont, far enough that the air felt different. I opened a 529 education account in Lily's name, real this time, for her future. Lily started at the new school on a Monday, wearing her purple backpack. That afternoon, she came home and looked around. This apartment is smaller, Mama. I know, but it's ours. Really? She thought about that seriously. Then she went to her room and started taping her drawings to the wall. I transferred to day shift at a hospital in Grover City. The pay was less, but I slept every night. I ate dinner with my daughter. I watched the sun go down from a window that belonged to no one but me. A week after we moved, a letter arrived. No return address. Inside, a $50 gift card and a note on pale blue stationery. Helen told me once, that girl will know when it's time to stand up. She was right. Glenda. I put it in the drawer beside my bed, where I keep the things that matter. Gerald accepted a plea deal. 1 count of identity theft, a felony. 2 years probation, mandatory counseling, full restitution, a permanent criminal record. He didn't go to prison. He was 61, first offense. But the record followed him. He eventually found work stocking shelves at a farm supply store. Patricia stayed with him. She told people at her new church I had a breakdown. Some believed her. It didn't matter to me anymore. Danielle never called. I never called Danielle. Sometimes that's how it ends. Not with a door slamming, but with a door that stays closed. I didn't hate them. Hate requires energy I'd rather spend on Lily's homework, my patience, the garden I started on the balcony, cherry tomatoes and basil. Lily watered them every morning. I don't carry them anymore. I set them down and my arms remember what it feels like to be empty and free. I learned that people who call you dramatic are usually doing the most damage. If they make you doubt your reaction, you never answer for theirs. I spent years letting it work. I learned that owning something on paper means nothing if you don't protect it. I owned that house for 12 years and never acted like it was mine. Generosity without boundaries isn't generosity. It's an open door with no lock. I learned that checking your credit and your child's is not paranoid. It's parenting. If I had looked earlier, I would have caught the first card. Lily's name would never have been touched. I check it every quarter now. It takes 10 minutes. And I learned that family is not a word that gives anyone the right to steal from you or try to take your freedom. Blood is not a contract. The people who use family to keep you quiet are usually the ones with the most to hide. Setting a boundary is not revenge. It's the first step toward peace. Lily asked me last week if she'd see Grandpa again. I told her the truth. I don't know, baby, but I know you're safe. She nodded, picked up her crayon, and went back to drawing. It's a Tuesday evening. The apartment is quiet. Lily sits at the kitchen table with her crayons spread around her. I'm at the sink, washing the last dishes. The window above the faucet looks out over the parking lot and a row of maple trees starting to turn. Mama, look. I dry my hands and walk over. She holds up her drawing. Two people standing in front of a small house. The taller one has brown hair and is smiling. The shorter one is holding her hand. There are flowers in the yard, red and purple, and a yellow sun with rays extending to the edges. That's us, Mama. It is. She goes back to adding details. A cat, apparently. We don't have a cat, but in her world, we do. I go back to the sink. My grandmother Helen used to say something while hanging laundry or shelling peas. She'd say, "A house is just walls, Donna. Home is who you protect inside them." I spent 12 years protecting the wrong people inside the wrong walls. I made excuses for people who wouldn't make room for me. I called it love. I called it duty. I called it family. Now I have 2 rooms, a daughter who draws pictures of us, and a door I lock every night. Not because I'm afraid, but because for the first time, what's inside is truly mine. My father asked in that church in front of 25 people, "Who's dramatic now?" I didn't answer then, but I'll answer now. No one. Because I don't live in his story anymore. I live in mine. Thank you for staying with me through all of it. If this story meant something to you, if it reminded you that you have the right to protect yourself and the people who depend on you, please hit that like button. If you're not subscribed yet, I'd love to have you here. I read every comment. Has anyone in your family ever crossed a line you thought they never would? What did you do? Tell me in the comments.